Welcome to the J. Michael Project video blog podcasting. So we are here on this beautiful Saturday evening, and I have some of my homies where we want to talk about something special. So let me just go ahead and start off and introduce everybody that's here for the first time.
Hi, I'm Malika.
I'm Melody.
I'm Matthew, OG Grizzly.
Awesome, OG. So we were at the baby shower. So yes, me and my wife, this beautiful lady right here, we were actually celebrating the coming birth of our daughter, where Dr. Malika was able to bring up a topic that I thought was pretty good and that we should talk about. So can you expound on that, please?
Okay, sure. I'm not a doctor yet because you can't get in trouble for saying that. So I got a chance to see the film Moonlight, which is a really beautiful film, and I think everyone should go out and see it. But something that really spoke to me in the film was kind of this performance of hyper-masculinity and how it impacts Black men and the development of their identities and kind of their interactions, whether they're personal, intimate interactions, friendships, all that kind of stuff. So I guess today we're talking about hypermasculinity and the impacts of hypermasculinity on relationships that Black men have, whether it's, intimate partner relationships or whether it's like friendships, building brotherly bonds, stuff like that.
Okay. So expound for us on hypermasculinity. What does that mean?
Okay, so hypermasculinity in essence is kind of this kind of toxic behavior that's kind of promoted to kind of push against the stereotype or the narrative of Black men being emasculated throughout history. So a lot of people know that, during slavery, during Black codes, Jim Crow, like historically, Black men haven't been able to perform versions of masculinity, whether that's protecting Black women, protecting children, protecting communities. And so there's kind of been this birth of this hyper-masculine man. It's very toxic behavior because it leads to violence towards women and children. It leads to violence towards one another. And usually examples of hyper-masculinity are some of the things you hear in rap music. But all in all, it's something that's not only toxic to the community, but it's toxic to the Black men themselves because they're not necessarily able to be who they want to be.
Okay. So I guess anybody want to... How do we feel? And matter of fact, what's the better way to start this, right? Is it better for us to say, for Matt and I to say, how do we feel about ourselves and where we see ourselves sit? Yeah. Or should I ask Melody first, how does she feel that maybe I fit into this topic, right? What's your assessment of me? Maybe that's a better. What do y'all think?
Whatever y'all want to know.
Okay. So one, I think I feel like I don't have that problem. I feel like that is something that needs to be addressed to where us guys could do probably better generically or as a group to being able to be more in tune with our emotions and being more communicative. Is that a word? We can communicate.
Go with it.
We can communicate maybe our emotions, how we feel, and express it as opposed to feeling like we can't say the simple "I love you" or whatever. I don't think I have those problems, and I think that it's even. I think it plays out better for me as I look at my relations with my son, to where I want to make sure I communicate to him exactly, hey man, I love you, or I'm happy to be able to spend time with you, or I appreciate you. Even growing up, I remember my dad would take me and my sister to school, and before we get out, I would give him a kiss on the cheek and say goodbye, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I don't feel like those are issues for me. Now, maybe I could do better, but I guess that's where the assessment would possibly come in. What do you feel?
You can communicate. You just don't do it often.
So what are we talking about? I don't do what often?
You don't communicate often.
Okay. What areas of communication should I do better of? I mean,
just like in day to day.
When you say I should communicate better, right? Do we mean that in the context of, does that fit in the context of hyper masculinity?
I think it does because I mean, even though the intimate relationship that was portrayed in Moonlight, spoiler alert, wasn't necessarily a heterosexual relationship, I think that because like you grow up in a society that tells you boys don't cry, boys don't have emotions, I think a lot of times young men who do end up in relationships often use that as ways to navigate, because number one, you're often given these messages, and number two, do you necessarily have those healthy role models, showing you how to be, a better partner, not only for the person that you're in a relationship with, but also for your own emotional maturity and health. And so how many fathers are having these conversations with their sons about exploring their feelings. And it's not even just about like this communication thing. It's about even what kind of man you want to be. Because like, I think those are beautiful examples that you put up, Cousin Mike, of you kissing your father and of you doing things with your son. But like, even in those aspects, like, there's a certain way to perform masculinity. And so I think going beyond just being this traditional way of what being a man means, whether that means being strong and dating a woman, like, you also have to be okay, if your son decides to be a dancer or decides, like, I think to me, hyper-masculinity should be done away with because it limits Black men in them being their authentic selves. So you still have people that, might feel comfortable in their own skin, but only feel comfortable in their own skin in certain spaces. So what does it mean when we allow Black men to be their authentic selves?
No, you were good, but you kind of messing up our second camera angle when you hit the table, so it'd be shaking.
Sorry.
No, you good. But continue on.
Because I think that when you allow someone to be their authentic self, like, it leads to them developing healthy emotional behaviors and healthy emotional behaviors, whether that means communicating better with their partner, being able to show their emotions and stuff like that.
So real quick, what are you doing? What are you studying right now for school? As we talk about this,
I study a lot of stuff.
Okay.
No.
So does this fit in with what your thesis or?
I do think in certain ways it does, but
So basically, this is more so. This discussion comes about based upon what you have seen and your assessment. Okay.
What I've seen, with male friends, with intimate partners, just in general, day to day.
Okay, so OG, what's your?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna piggyback on what she says. I think one of the most important things is having the appropriate role models, because now, if you look at it, we all know there's a lot of single parent households. At the same time, like, what are these young men looking? What do they have to look up to? If you're talking about Young Thug, what I mean, that or rappers or people that live, these extreme lifestyles, like, yes, when the father's not at home, I mean, it's a lot of things that break down. And you don't know how to, you learn, I look at myself like having a girlfriend, growing up, I didn't really know how to treat a woman. I mean, you're supposed to learn how to treat a woman from another man. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So you know how to handle yourself, your emotions from another man. I don't feel like there's nothing wrong with saying, don't cry. You know what I'm saying? Be a man, tough it out. I mean, you know what I'm saying, if you can. I don't see anything wrong with it, but with that being said, you also have to, if you tell this man to don't cry, you have to give him a blueprint. It has to be a blueprint saying, hey, well, if you're not going to cry, you need to be able to be focused on finding a solution to make this situation better.
Right. No, and I think that's a good point. So, I mean, I think it's kind of like we want to, because I do try to raise my son in a sense of saying, all right, you can't cry. Like, because it's okay to cry, but you're going to have to, like, get over it, right? You're going to have to, you can either use all your emotions and energy and putting that into crying, or you can kind of put that emotion, channel that emotion and energy to overcoming that situation. And so I think that's kind of it is you want to be mentally tough, but you also don't want a child to lose lose focus or being in tune with their emotions. So I think crying is okay. However, it's I think one thing that guys try to do, and some guys try to make sure, and in my case, is that you don't exert all that energy and effort of that one emotion to not use it to go to I guess a more mental strength to overcome whatever situation that is.
And I think that's good, but my thing is if the way you all are saying it, I don't think that should be exclusive to men. Like, I think we should raise our daughters like, okay, it's okay to cry, but you need to put that energy in something else. And I think that that's where the issue happens, is because there becomes a very different code for how little boys are supposed to act as opposed to how little girls are supposed to act. And what does that mean for young men who are, who might be a little overly sensitive? Like, everybody can't bounce back, like that. So, I mean, I don't think hypermasculinity is only toxic to men. I think it's toxic to women too, because like I said, I don't necessarily think anything is wrong with that message, but why is that only exclusive to boys? Like, why can't that be, well, this is how we should train children in general,
Well, I think it's also because, I mean, men and women, we just different, like the woman, like I feel like because we are different, we're a good balance for each other. The woman is known to be more emotional, and guys are known to be, supposedly known to be more logical, right? So I feel like you bring both of those together, you can bring some emotion and logic with it, and you can actually make a good match there. So,
but I don't think. Okay, so I'm gonna push a little bit.
Okay, before you start pushing, I think I'm very sensitive. Do you think I'm sensitive?
Yes.
Okay. So I think I'm, at least I know.
No doubt about that.
At least I know I'm sensitive, and I just want to get that out there.
You're sensitive, but there's still layers to it. You're sensitive, but there's still layers to it.
Closer.
You're sensitive, but there's layers to it. Like, you're not going to cry about something if I've upset you or whatever. Like, you are going to go and you're going to retreat. You're going to take several days to think about it, process it, whatever, and then discuss it. So it's like, yes, you're emotional in a sense that, like, I know you feel things, but you're not as expressive with them.
I'm analytical, and so I make sure
Goes
that
back to the logic.
So it's just I go back to thinking, evaluating, and then I proceed to try to articulate what I'm saying. At least that's my assessment.
But why is it not okay or why do men feel uncomfortable saying, you hurt my feelings? I'm quick to tell you, you hurt my feelings because you did X, Y, Z. Like, why does that?
I don't think there's a problem with me saying you hurt my feelings.
But men typically don't say that.
I'm not going to really say it. First of all,
You're not.
I'm going to look at it and be like, you know what? I mean, me growing up and just getting older, I'm going to look at myself and like, you know what did I do to contribute to the situation? I'm going to look at myself first. You know what I mean? So
When you realize your feelings have been hurt?
Yeah. I'm like, what did I contribute to this situation? Because I did something that I did to contribute to the situation. And so from that point, that's when I guess you can go away. You think about it for a couple of days because I can get upset and say whatever too, but I'm just like, you know what, is this going to help the situation? No. So let me think about what did I contribute to this situation? Why would she, do something, say something to make and it hurt my feelings? Like, because most of the time when people hurt your feelings, something about it is true. It might just be to the extreme, but something about it is true. So we have like 4 minutes left, right? So Malika, tell us things that you feel that we could do. Malika, Melody, that we could do.
So I think like a lot of issues that I have sometimes is like people think that women are overly emotional and they have this, and men are logical and analytical. And I mean, I think there's a truth in that, but I don't think that's exactly true. I think women are socialized to be a certain way because I know there are women who perform in what people might deem masculine terms. They'll retreat and think about it. But to me, if we're in a partnership and I've hurt your feelings, I want to know I hurt your feelings because I want to be a better person for you. And I think that, like, you have to talk to people. You have to engage with people. You have to engage with your partner. But I just wanted to put that out there. I don't necessarily think it's an innate thing. I just think women are socialized very differently than men. Because if we raised girls under kind of the same circumstances that we raise boys, who's not to say we'd have, some very interesting conversation about future relationships?
I think it's okay for you to cry. I think it's okay for men in general to cry and to I think it's okay to be emotional, especially if you're going to be emotional with the right person. Not saying every girl or guy that you date deserves to have those raw emotions and feelings that you're expressing, but once you get in a committed relationship, and we're super grown now, it's okay to be, that's a whole nother level of intimacy if you can let down that wall and just let your partner know, this is how I feel, this is how you made me feel, this is what I need from you, and to, not feel ashamed of that. I get it if you're in high school and middle school, you're not about to, pour your heart out, writing 4-page letters, that whole thing, but... But at this point in your life, you should feel comfortable with yourself and your manhood or womanhood just to say how you feel, express it, let's talk about it, and how we're going to fix it, or how we're going to address it, and let's move forward.
Mm-hmm.
OG, you got any closing thoughts?
I agree. Like I said, I'm still probably not going to cry unless it's to the very extreme. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, but like I said, I just try to put my focus and energy, like you were saying, Mike, on finding a solution and figuring out what did I contribute, what can I do to make this situation better.
I know crying is just one part of the iceberg, but I think it goes back to what may make one person cry is not going to make another person cry.
Yeah.
So certain situations, the response may not be for me to cry, but I may show some other emotions where there may be another situation to where I probably would cry and be more prone to crying as opposed to others. However, I do feel like we have to do a better job of making sure that we don't we encourage people to be in tune with themselves, both boys and girls, men and women, to be expressive, to articulate their feelings, and then just to share and to learn and grow in being in tune, because I think that helps not only the person, but it helps your neighbor, and then helping your neighbor helps the overall community. Mm-hmm. So as we close and wrap up, I definitely will say I appreciate it. All right. And I appreciate everybody taking time to get on this first video blog, especially Melody. It's been a minute since she ever
she
would
back
do this.
with the jump off.
But yeah, so stay tuned. We're going to have more coming. Again, appreciate you guys and ladies to coming and joining us here.
Thanks
all
for
right?
saying that. And nobody's saying you have to cry. Dang.
She means we got to cry.
No,
She
you don't
wants us
have
to
to. It's just demonstrate your emotion. That's all I'm saying.
All right, well, you heard it here. All right, peace.